Hey everybody, this is Ashton here with Ashton Automotive and Performance. Got a video I want to do today on this Jetta here. It's an '08 2.5. Came in for a bunch of electrical concerns. I wanted to do this more as both a tech tip and a tip for the owners of the vehicles on what not to do in this case when you have an electrical short. And I'll take you through this on kind of a backstory on this. This was having issues with the alarm going off randomly, killing the battery, draw. Again, stuff that he didn't notice, but that I noticed is like the trunk was always showing that it was open, and so on. It would get into the fuse panel here on the side panel of the left side of the instrument panel. Had two blown fuses because we couldn't communicate with the car. One was powered the data link connector as well as some other stuff, and then the other one powered the central electronics module. Both were blown, but I did notice he had a 30 amp fuse in the one that powers the electronics module. Again, it's only supposed to have a 7.5 amp fuse in that one, so kind of figured something was going on. So we trace the wiring. We find out that the trunk switch that detects when the trunk is open and closed, that wire was shorted to ground. Tracing that back to behind the glove box here, there's your comfort module, which does all your alarms. It detects all your doors in the trunk and all that stuff. So coming off of there, we noticed that we depinned it from here, and then it showed the trunk closed. So again, and then you can continuity test it, and it goes to ground, which it shouldn't be. So we got tracing further down. We notice up in the top part of the glove box up here, where you can see I have all this wiring pulled back and stuff and unloomed. This harness was melted. There was a power wire that came off of the central electronics module that when we found the wire color, it powers like the interior lighting. Well, obviously there was a short somewhere in that wiring, caused the wire to get hot. But not only that, the wire should never have gotten that hot. The reason it got that hot was because someone put a larger fuse than it's supposed to take. If it had kept a 7.5 amp fuse in there, it would have blown well before it started actually melting the harness. So again, this is not really funny, but we noticed that the right side curtain airbag had been blown and cut away, and then the airbag light is on and has a circuit code for that, but there's no crash data. Well, when we were looking at that harness that melted, the harness had, that one wire that was getting hot had actually melted and made contact with the side curtain airbag wiring, and actually set off the airbag. And then when we talked to the customer later, he said, yeah, he's like, one day I just got in my car, opened up the door, sat down, and then the airbag went off on that side. And so this is what those kind of things can cause. Not all vehicles have separated harnesses. There's many that do for the airbag, but some of them are all intertwined in the end, the main harness. So it's highly recommended to never put a larger fuse than what the circuit calls for. These wires can only handle so much amperage before they start to do this. So here's so there's the wire. It's a red with blue stripe. Again, it goes to interior lighting, and I mean, it's melted like this. I mean, all the way down. We're literally going to have to just, again, separate all this, cut it, and then just run an overlay wire to the component that it goes to. So, as well as that trunk wire, because the trunk wire that trunk sense wire happened to be right. It ran right along next to that one, pretty much the entire length of the harness. The rest of it all, like I said, besides we had to repair the airbag wiring where it had touched and melted through that as well. But other than that, everything else looks fine. But again, that's why you never put a larger fuse than what the circuit's capable of. Stick to that. And like I said, you would never have the, find the short. Don't try to just stick a larger fuse in there, because it was holding. Like I said, in that 30, even that 30 amp fuse, you could see was starting to melt because of the short. So that's my tech tip of the day. This was a fun one that had been at a couple other shops and had parts thrown at it that didn't even need. So here's what we do. This is why we get these vehicles. See ya.